Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Successful Stylist Academy podcast. My name is Drea Letcher, and I'm the artistic director at Successful Stylist Academy. And I'm so excited to be on this episode, just having another amazing conversation with my partner in crime, or maybe I'm your partner in crime, the founder of Successful Stylist Academy, Ambrosia Drea.
And partners in crime and life and the industry. Yes, you're such a great partner to have. Yeah, this is a really special episode, you guys, because this is closing down this final chapter of the season. And we're talking about the ugly parts of the industry, which are the hard truths of being a successful stylist. And when we say hard truths, we don't mean like the grind that you have to put into it. It's just like being transparent about some of the things that I think have been kind of like swept under the rug and what leads to having, gaining traction and having that abundance in your lifestyle. Throughout the last couple of years, I have seen a multitude or a range of hairstylists, salon owners, educators, the gamut on social media and just on the limelight, kind of making it seem as though there's like this magical formula for being successful. One of the disclaimers that I should say is that everyone has a different idea of what success actually means. So we know that. But I think the other piece of it is that there's not like a one trick thing that you can do. It's not like that get rich quick scheme or like that quick weight loss thing where you just take a pill. So I feel like if we uncover all the years of being in this industry, all the hard work that we've put in, all the different people we've worked with, even in the industry, and what we have seen to be a well balanced formula, that's what we're going to talk about today.
Well said. I mean, this is definitely not a sexy talk episode, but this is so needed and so necessary, and things that are great reminders for me as well along the way. And I think this is for us stylists who just really have a heart for hair, a heart for people, a heart for this industry. And it's about putting in the work in a healthy, balancing way in order to really gain the payoff. It's like being in not just like we're making it through, but accepting the truth to really step into the best of our profession, the best of ourselves behind the chair as educators, as influencers, whatever that looks like for you. So I know that you have I feel like some of your topics and information you're going to share are so amazing. And I feel like I have like the mean ones. So I don't know. Should we start with mine or yours?
I don't think there's any such thing as like mean. I think there's more like the hard truths, kind of the topic of it. And sometimes the truth hurts a little bit, and sometimes it can be a little uncomfortable to say. And, even though Drea, you're like one of the nicest humans that I know on this planet, you really are. You're like a living unicorn. Um, I feel like this is something that people need to hear. And that's the reason why I love you as an orator. I feel like you've got a really strong voice and a presence. And I also think that you word things in a way that is easy to digest. So I'll kick it off. I'm going to start off with one of my points because this is something that I've been seeing repeating on social media, repeating in verbiage, and just even coming up in some of the sessions that I have with hairstylists and the coaching calls. Um, New clients can cost 5 times more than retaining an existing client. I just want you to let that kind of sink in for a second because some of the issues that are happening today is not getting new clients in our chair, but it's coming up with systems and coming up with a creative environment that makes people feel uh, like they're irreplaceable. We want to treat everyone like they're irreplaceable because let's go ahead and say it, they are. I mean, they are and they aren't. So that's the limit. Let me go more into that. They are in the sense that every single person that sits in our chair is completely unique and everyone has a story. We are quick to make assumptions and judgments. We know that there's like, what is it, 3 seconds that people make a judgment of us the minute they meet us. Like, we don't even have to open our mouth and they make a judgment of us. We do the same in return. It's human nature. We do that as a survival tactic. We do that because it's ingrained in us. But we also have to remind ourselves too that sometimes we misjudge. And when we start to learn more and we start to uncover or unpeel things about people and we start to learn about them, we get to grow and evolve not just as a person and a hairstylist, but we also get to build a stronger relationship with our clients. And that is what it's all about. We can't make it about us all the time. We can't be like, I only want balayage clients in our chair, because that is a product of the result. It's not who the person is. That person can change all the time. You can always evolve people into if you're passionate about balayage, by all means, keep doing it. Encourage a client who sits in your chair how they can have their version of balayage too. But don't try to limit yourself by just being like, this is the one person that I want to do for the rest of my life, because we will grow and evolve as a stylist. So don't cut yourself off too short. But also realize that the person sitting in your chair, they have a mouth, they have an opinion, and they will share and exercise that with the people that they feel like they want to share that with. So, how amazing is it if Susan's sitting in your chair and she may not be like your target market client, but Susan happens to run a multi-level company and has like people under her wing that she refers to you, and maybe you and Susan tie, you part ties, and Susan sees somebody else, but then she referred all these people to you. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's not so much about getting more people in your chair. It's about taking care of the people that you see today so that your business can grow and thrive for the future. So please keep that in mind. 5 times more to 5 times more to get a new client instead of retaining an existing client.
Awesome. I really want to tag on to that, Ambrosia, because, we hear so much about, and it's not bad advice, but we hear so much about, don't post, don't share, don't put out there the work that you don't want to do. But how often, if we're only accepting our dream client in our chair every single time, are we missing out on opportunities? I mean, what we do is so multifaceted, and a client could sit in the chair and have so much value besides that result of what we're doing on their hair and what that outcome is going to be. So I think that that is an amazing, powerful thing to take into consideration while we're building our clients. And what you shared is so beautiful and it has so much weight to it, but I could not help but think of 50 First Dates. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Everyone's seen that movie. And I've seen it like 100 times, but she keeps saying there's nothing like a first kiss. And I just keep thinking, like, every client should be getting that first kiss every time, even if you've seen them 100 times. Like, it's just really making that client feel like they're a client and they're having that amazing, attentive first time experience every single time in your chair. Well, I'm going to jump in to because it really goes along with what you're saying. And my first point is really revisiting a conversation that you and I have had in the past as well. And that is there's no such thing as overnight success. And there is just so much smoke and mirrors when we go on and look at social media. I mean, people are seeing exactly what you want them to see. And I think there is transparency and there's vulnerability and there's diamonds. And I really appreciate those people who are putting that out there for all of us to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. But there is still a lot of smoke and mirrors there. And I think sometimes we see a busy stylist who is doing this or that, and we don't know the backstory of what it took them to get there and how they built their clientele, how they kept their clientele, how they continue to pour into that same client that they've been seeing for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and held on to them. And even, if you're a stylist who is focusing on photo shoots or doing education, I mean, someone worked their ass off along the way and has really poured into their craft in order to get where they are. So there's no such thing as overnight success. I really want to focus on building a clientele, because for us old school gals, we were hitting the pavement. We were taking our cards to the mall and putting flyers on cars and doing all kinds of stuff. And I think now the expectation of I went to school, I'm here, I'm dressed up, I'm available, we have an expectation of someone filling our chair. And so, really feeling like, what is it that I need to do to put in my time to fulfill all of the job responsibilities I have as a stylist to ensure that I'm getting people in my chair, that I'm reaching out, that I'm available, that I'm confident, that I'm humble, that I'm pouring into my craft. I think really making that realistic expectation of building who you are authentically as a stylist and putting in the time to build your clientele. I think that's huge. And I think we stop talking about that sometimes. We talk about the success, but we don't talk about the hardship that it took to get originally to that success. And if you are someone that's building or struggling or going through a process, I want to encourage you to share the process, because people are much more willing to get involved with your journey if they understand the process that has been involved along the way.
Great advice. You're right. I think sometimes we look at, and even when we know, we still see the end product, and it's easy to get blinded by that and just think that it came so easily for that person when we don't know that maybe there were 20 misses that it took in order to get that success or to get that hit. So and it worked for them, but it might not work for you too. And so it's important to keep in mind that every individual journey is literally that's what it is. It's an individual journey. And if it works for somebody, it might not work for others. And it also didn't necessarily take them overnight. So, whether it means that they put a lot of thought into it, they've tried several different ways of doing it, different methods. It's taken them many years to get there. Lots of hours that they had to pour into it. I mean, we don't get to see that piece, but maybe they're putting in like 50, 60 hours a week. We don't know. And then we see the end product and we get excited about it and we're like, I want that too. And then when we find out what goes into it, we're like, do I really want that? So I think it's good to evaluate those two pieces of it. Like, do I really want that success and the type of responsibilities that goes with it? And do I align properly with what that success might mean? Because getting to that place, we also have to, it's not like you just hit it and then that's it. You have to keep going. And keep going means that you have to keep putting in more hours and you still have new challenges that come your way and you still have to be in problem solving mode. And we all know that the more responsibilities we have, then the more we have to kind of show up for it. We have to be available for it too. So just be careful for what you wish for, I guess. That's another hard truth that can come across a little harsh. But one of the things that I love and appreciate so much about my husband that I was drawn to from the very beginning is that he is, to a T, a very simple creature. I mean, we always make jokes that like men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and that men are very simple creatures in general. But my husband, Sonny, he is the kind of person that he wants to go to work, do a good job and come home. And he wants to enjoy his time off. He doesn't want to spend his days off cleaning. So he says, I would rather hire somebody to do the deep stuff. And then I'm willing to do, light things around the house. And um, he wants to live a balanced life. I mean, his idea of balance, it can be different than mine for sure. But what I admire about him is that he's not like, I need more, I need more, I need more. Because needing more means that you have to actually give up more of your time for it too. And he values his time just as much as he values, the people he spends it with. And that's something to admire. And I think sometimes there's not enough praise that goes into that. It's like we praise all the hustle, but we don't praise the fact that people can kind of like, balance out their downtime. I feel like there's a better way of saying it that I'm not saying right now, but I think you guys get the gist of it. You know what I mean? So I'm going to move into my next hard truth. A lot of people want to hit like that 6-figure income, and a lot of people already do, and they want to have more and more and more. But let's just break down simple math for a second, shall we? If you divide the amount of days that you work and you say, I only want to work 3 days a week. Okay, fine. So then you do simple math. You take that 6 figure income, you divide it by the days of the week that you work, and then divide that by the number of days. And that's what you have to do. But then you have to account for taxes and your cost. And if you're, booth rental stylist or, a salon suite owner, then of course you have to factor in all the other costs that kind of get associated with it. And if all you want to do is look at like your gross income, then of course you do basic math. But, I think sometimes I see this happening where people take this number. They're like, okay, you take 100,000 and you divide it by the number of days that you work. And this is all you have to do. And then you hit it. And it's like, well, wait a minute. What about we have to subtract the 37% in taxes. So it's about 37%, give or take, depending on where you live. So if you do that, then that means in order to bring in 100,000, you actually have to hit 160,000. So that, and I don't want to get too hung up on numbers, but what I do want to do is bring to light that in order to hit a specific goal, you have to be very realistic about the expectations and what really goes into that goal. And if you say to yourself, all I need to do is hit 100,000 in order to say that I hit 6 figures, or that if that's the income that you want to bring in, let's say, if that's the income that you want to bring in, then you have to factor in other elements that subtract from it immediately. Otherwise, that's actually not what you brought in. So sometimes in the independent industry where people are touching a lot of money, that's not money for you to keep. So we have to be a little bit more transparent about it. And I feel like right now there's a lot going into oh, I make this much money. And that's not actually true, though. You didn't make that money. You generated it, but you don't get to keep it. So let's be a little bit more real about it. If you actually want to bring in a 6 figure income, it is doable, but your goal should be 160,000, not 100,000. And you also need to keep that money. Like you have to save that money and account for all the other things that are going to happen throughout your life. So it's not about what you bring in, it's about what you keep. Same thing actually as my first point. It's not about getting more clients in, it's about the clients you keep. So if you apply this to other elements, then you actually can work smarter, not harder. And that means that yes, you can finally shrink your days down to 3 days a week, but don't make that the answer in what you feel you need to do in order to get balance. Getting balance means that you're just being more efficient in your day. Maybe you need to raise your prices. Maybe you need to, talk to a financial advisor on how you can save money better so that you don't have to make more money. So try to look at all angles of it instead of just looking at the one facet. There are so many different facets in being a truly financially free hairstylist.
Financially free hairstylist. I love that. Although I hated all of that. No, just I'm just kidding. I am
Was that painful?
yeah, it was painful. I am not a numbers girl and I love the way that your brain works. But thanks for speaking right into my next point, which the hard truth is being creative isn't enough. And I know us as creatives, that is not something that we like to hear because we want to create, we want to do hair, we want to paint, paint in color, we want to do all of these things. And the truth is, especially over time and as our industry evolves, our job has went from one or two elements to like 3 to 5 elements. I specifically want to touch on a few of those, which is communication, organization, and promotion. And you kind of spoke into that even just right now with your share. And I have met hairstylists who are literally the best hairstylists. Like they are amazing at color. I've met some of the most amazing hair cutters. You're great at braiding. But if a couple things are lacking, that part of the craft doesn't come to light the way it truly should, I think, and deserves to come to light. And being a good communicator, we talk about our clientele, them knowing that we're present, that we're making eye contact, that our body language and our mouth are aligning to give them value, to give them attention, for them to feel like they're kind of part of our purpose and part of what we're moving through in the day. being a good communicator when you're an educator, when you're working with a team, when you're working with peers, um, getting along, encouraging one another. I feel like there's so many elements when we are in the service industry and we work with people, that being a good communicator is equally, I mean, I've seen amazing hairdressers who are so talented and their work never really gets the platform I feel like the talent of their work deserves. I've also seen hairstylists that are mediocre who are the most amazing communicators and engaging, who are busy, who have a huge following. So that is such a big, big element. And I don't want to just say, be a great communicator. But I also want to say, if you're not a great communicator, there's hope for you. It doesn't mean that you can't be a great communicator. It's not just you have it or you don't. I mean, there are people who communicate really well naturally, but this can be something that's worked on, and it can be practiced over leaving a voicemail instead of text messaging, over forcing yourself to go live when you're not comfortable with it, over taking a book page and reading three different emotions in one page out loud, with going to Toastmasters, taking a speaking course at a community college. So if you aren't a good communicator, there are ways, if you want to move into that you can get better. The second element is organization. And I just am calling it organization, but wow, those numbers, those realistic expectations that you were talking about, Ambrosia, the bookkeeping side of things, the scheduling side of things. And as you mentioned, Sunny, good man. And I know he always listens. So hi, Sunny, and thanks for supporting us always. I would say, just like Sunny wants to enjoy his time, as you mentioned, off, I would say if you would rather not do your bookkeeping or your scheduling, find a way to make that happen. Find that balance. Find someone to work with. Maybe it's a college student that needs a little extra money or wants his or her hair done, and you can do a trade for it. But that organizational side could really make or break your business. You could be behind the chair working so hard, creating so much beautiful hair. And if you're spending money on, late fees, or not getting your quarterly taxes in, not being organized, not getting back to clients, not able to confirm, that takes a huge hit on your business. So I feel like being creative isn't enough, because we need the communication, we need the organization. And then lastly is promotion. And social media has taken a really big front row seat in the fact that it allows us to get out who we are, what we do, and where people can find us. And I know there's a lot of hairdressers that really want to be behind the chair, and they don't want to feel like they're on there trying to be an influencer or whatever that looks like, which doesn't have to be the case whatsoever. But really finding ways that are authentic to you, just to reach out to even just clients in your community to say, I'm here, I love what I do, this is what I do, and you can find me, is so, so important. So if any of those elements are missing, then I really want to encourage you to find ways to slowly and simply start to implement them into your creativity within our craft as well.
So at the end of all of this, I mean, hair is really the byproduct. That is one of the hardest truths of all. So you can get really, really good at your craft. And getting good at your craft is, there's a lot of things that happen with it. It's not just that you're executing from A to B something really beautiful on the right person. It's also helping you with your self-esteem and your confidence and your skill set and your timing. There's a lot of things that go into that application piece. But don't let it just stop there. Don't continue to just keep taking technical courses all the time. It's really important to understand the communication side, like what Drea was just saying. We're all in the people business. That's really what it's about. Some of the most talented people that I've met that don't know how to communicate or don't listen during a consultation or don't even offer a consultation, for God's sake, they're struggling. And maybe it's because they're more artistic and they need to be on a stage, or they maybe that, that the best fit for them is not in a salon space. And it's good to know that too. But in order to service clients properly, in order to build a successful business for yourself as a hairstylist, it's really about understanding the person that's sitting in your chair, because they're the ones who are they're running the show and we have to be available for them. It's about them, it's not about us. So some like kind of a spin off of that, just going more into detail, let's make sure that we're talking about them. Let's make sure that we're, making it about them, and let's take care of them the best way that we can. And if you feel like you're not syncing up to somebody, it's okay, but still take care of them. Let them make that decision. It's not it doesn't mean that we have to love every single person that comes in to see us. Maybe it's a reflection of what we need to do with ourselves. Like maybe there's something about that person we don't like because it might be something that we possess in ourselves that we don't like as well. So try to understand that there's a deeper root cause. It's not because you can't be BFFs outside of here. You don't have to be a best friend with every single person that sits in your chair. It's about understanding that person and making them feel the best that they possibly can. You know how to do that. You know how to make someone feel good. That's why you got into this industry. You can create beautiful art on each person, but it can go deeper than that. And the artistic part is the stuff that keeps us inspired creatively, and it's good to do that. But understanding the person that sits in your chair, sometimes just slowing down a little bit and listening, asking more questions, being there for them in a different way, and kind of digging a little bit more. As people come in to see you, they're coming back to you for a reason. And so find out what that reason is and lean into that piece a little bit more rather than trying to reinvent the wheel every single time. We all know that consistency is really key. We talk about consistency all the time. We know that being consistent for people and showing up for that person is really important. But what does it actually mean to be consistent? Being consistent means that you are consistently there for that client and you're making that appointment about them. You don't have to run like this whole, like kind of the smoke and mirror show that we're talking about. You don't have to run this amazing show. I mean, so on the flip side of things, I was telling you guys that I've met people who are amazingly talented and they struggle as a business and they barely make, I mean, they're barely making ends meet. On the flip side of it, I've met people who are, fully booked wait lists. They charge like double what some of the other stylists in their salon charge. And they can't keep up with the volume. They can't keep up with it. They've got assistants, they're making, several hundred thousand a year, and they have a wait list, everything that we dream about as a service provider, as somebody who takes care of clients. And what's funny about it is that this person I have in mind, or these people I have in mind, are not the best technically behind the chair. They don't give the most amazing haircuts. They don't do anything like really innovative with highlights. They do a very conventional highlight. They do a very standard natural retouch. There's nothing, they're not recreating the wheel here. They're doing beautiful hair, but they're treating people like they are their only client. And that is all you have to do. It really is that simple.
Thank you for adding that piece. I know that I did mention promotion as one thing, and we talk a little bit about social media. You're amazing at social media, Ambrosia, and has classes and coaching. And I think there's a balance with it though as well. So the next hard truth that I'm going to share is my last hard truth. And I just want to say that I'm saying it out of complete love. And there is a major pressure to perform on social media. And so my hard truth is stop trying to be famous and work on your craft. And I feel like we're kind of going back and forth with this. Like, don't just take technical classes. Make sure you're promoting yourself on social media. It really is that balancing act. But getting down to the nitty-gritty of your craft is so, so important. And I don't want to lose sight of that, because I really feel that the results that show up in the light are due to the disciplines that we do in the dark. And what that means to me is in the light. So, what shows up behind the chair? What is that result with our client? Are they rebooking? What the end result of the photo shoot looks like, what the end result of a workshop that we worked so hard to create, looks like. That is the light, but it's really due to the disciplines that we do in the dark. So stop trying to be famous and work on our craft is where we're not immediately wanting that applause prematurely. We are working on the technical side of things. We're building our brand. We're reflecting on our personal time to find out who we are authentically so we can develop our why. That way, when we go share our voice, it's in a way that really aligns with our why and who we are as a person. Um, Challenging ourselves in ways that stretch us a little bit. I used to get discouraged and be a little vulnerable, and it still happens. I don't have thousands and thousands of people watching me when I do a live. And I was really nervous to do lives, although I would go on stage in front of hundreds of people. Lives just freaked me out for whatever reason. So I would do a live and I'd be constantly, instead of focusing on my purpose and what I'm on there to share, I'd be like in the little corner, like, how many people are watching? How many people are watching? And the cool thing is that I realized is I'm really developing my craft in the dark. I have a small audience, which allows me to practice what I'm doing and practice my message before that message really gets too big and that judgment comes in. Some of developing things in the dark really take off the pressure. They allow us to practice, they allow us to develop our craft without having to be in that limelight. So, working on my craft is also honoring this season, working with what's in my hands already. If I'm putting prayer and energy into asking for more, being that six-figure stylist, having more clientele, having the opportunity to go work for a company or to develop some type of indie education curriculum, whatever that looks like for you, my question to you would be, how right now are you honoring the season you're in? How are you working with the things that have already been placed in your hands? And I was thinking back to being a newer stylist, that would look like to me just making sure my station is clean and sanitized, that my tools are up to date, that I've made my clients feel special, that if I have downtime, I'm helping other stylists, that I am cleaning the salon, that I'm complimenting genuinely, that I'm just really being a good like stewardess over the things I have before I'm asking for more. Because just like you said, Ambrosia, be careful what you wish for, because I feel like with favor comes additional responsibility, and we kind of have to build the foundation to be ready for that. And so a lot of times we prematurely push ourselves into a situation based upon pressure that we haven't practiced in the dark and we're not ready for. And that's sometimes where we end up, I don't want to say failing, because I really believe in failing forward, and success looks different. And those lessons and those growth does not end up looking like failing, because it really can be used ultimately for good. You know what I'm saying? But it's just the discouragement, falling into comparing callings, falling into the pressure of performance, I think all comes from not first building the foundation and having the disciplines of honoring the season we're in before we ask to get moved to the next one.
Setting small goals and just being able to celebrate those small goals, and you're as you're doing it, you're already working toward the next thing instead of looking at the big goal and making sure that everything that you do aligns with it, because sometimes we can get a little lost in that piece and it comes from a different place. If all we're focusing on is success, fame, money, going viral, all these things that are very surface level, that are very temporary, it will leave us feeling empty. I promise you that if you focus on it, you will get there, and you will also you'll want more. You'll want more and more and more. Nothing wrong with wanting more. It's all in the way that we build our mindset around it, right? So if we do it in a way where I'm doing this thing because I feel connected to it. It makes me feel good. I'm making a difference to this person, and you just focus on that one person, and then that one person becomes two, becomes three, because naturally that they're attracted to the same thing. It is simply going to happen by nature. And as you continue to develop that craft and you can do it with your eyes closed, then naturally you are going to invite other things that just kind of help to evolve into it as well. And so having your long-term goal not be about the money that you're making, but your long-term goal could be about the having another day off, or having more time with your family or friends, or being able to travel, or be able to develop a new craft or skill and you can take classes in something different. Whatever that goal might be, make sure you associate that goal with something that helps you become a better person, not what you get out of it. And making you become a better person is who you can be with those people. Because Drea, I mean, you mentioned something a second ago about your followers, and maybe you don't have a million followers that are not attached, or like they don't have a relationship with you at all, but you might have really deep relationships with multiple people. And I know that you do personally. You have a lot of amazing deep relationships with people, and some of us have a hard time connecting with just one person. Some of us have a really hard time with making time for friends, or um we all have our little challenges and struggles, but your strength, Drea, is being able to have an impactful, deep relationship with people. And I see that you've held relationships throughout your life with a lot of different people, and it's really admirable. It's a strong quality that you possess naturally, but you also work to maintain that because it means something to you. And so having those goals align with that, it makes everything feel like it's worth it. That lack of sleep that you get, the hours that you put into something, maybe the fact that you don't make a ton of money at this one thing, your side hustle or whatever it might be, it's because you're grounded and rooted in this thing that means more to you than what those superficial things can bring. And so that is a huge hard truth, but such a satisfying, beautiful truth that I would hope each one of us are able to achieve in our lifetime, that each one of us were able to feel that in our lifetime, because it really becomes a ripple effect. It starts to, because other people gravitate toward it. And then, the people that you surround yourself end up being those kinds of people as well. And it adds such that labor of love piece. We get to be very specific about who we want to invite in. And it doesn't have to be something that is like constantly on rotation. It gets to be something deeper. And those like really good friends that you made when you were like 12 years old and you haven't seen for, half a lifetime. And then you run into each other and then you start talking about those memories from when you were 12 years old and you immediately go back to that again. That's what I want you guys to have with the goals that you associate in your lives. It's not something that you have to be chasing all the time. It's something that when you go back to it, it's so deeply rooted with your core values that it means something to you, and it brings like a different quality to your life. And so that's what these hard truths are all about, is letting you go beyond the superficial stuff in this industry and get to a deeper meaning within the industry so that you can grow and develop into being the best version of yourself as a service provider, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a hairstylist, whatever your dreams are that you want to create for this. Like, it is limitless when you can tap into that piece. So that's why we put so much emphasis on it.
Well said. And thank you so much for all of those kind words. I'm just going to like put them in my pocket and carry them around all day long. Well, we attract what we project. And obviously, you and I have come together. So I love and appreciate you. And it is definitely for me, it is about the connection and just focusing on that, the quality of interaction versus the quantity of interaction. Um, I think is really, really important to just like keep in mind a lot of times with just the pressure of numbers. And with that, like it's not a follower, it's a person. It's not a client. It's a specific human person that has a story that's going through their day in the same way that we're going through our day. And when we're able to allow them to feel that we see that and we see them, I really think that's where it just carries through and makes all of the difference.
Yeah, and then there's so much less emphasis is placed on the final product of that hair. Like you can make amazing hair and you can learn something brand new, like new recipes, new places to travel. You can, I mean, I've learned about finances. I've learned about, I mean, I've even had my client who is she is a mortgage broker. And how cool is it that we get to learn so much more outside of the craft that we do when we tap into those deeper relationships with our clients? I mean, it truly is that journey where how when they say like raising a child is actually a child raising you. It's kind of the same thing. Our industry, the industry can be our child that like teaches us how to become better people that I mean we have such an amazing industry, you guys. We have such here think of it this way. What other job is there out there in this world? Other career path in life where we get to physically and emotionally touch someone at the same time? And not in a weird, creepy way. I mean, like, really really, like, physically touching somebody, and for a lot of people that it's like weird it's a sacred place. Like, some people don't allow anyone else to touch them aside from their hairstylist or maybe a massage therapist, perhaps. But, some people are very, closed off, and that's a huge thing, and let's not take advantage of that. And then the emotional piece, I mean, we hear information before a client's husband hears about it, or we know things that their best friend doesn't know. We know their darkest secrets. Like, let's not take advantage of that. Let's hold that in a really deep, meaningful way. And so, if we treat everything that way, imagine how much further we can go. I mean, it's limitless. That's what I mean. That's what I mean by it. I mean, we could go on and on about this. I'm sure this is going to be our longest episode yet because there are so many little tiny pieces to this that make a big difference in the longevity and your success rate in this industry. And if you can tap into those deeper things that we were just talking about, you can stay in this industry for a very long time. You can love what you do all the time. You'll have moments where you feel burnt out, but you're not going to feel so burnt out that you're like, this isn't for me. And you can also make a ton of money. And the money just comes. It's not even something you have to think about anymore. How nice is that? So please take these things, don't just tuck them away. Practice them. Rewind this, or you don't have to rewind anymore. This is like aging me. You can go back to this, revisit this, go back to some of our other episodes, and just really start to apply some of these things one thing at a time and start to see what resonates with you and start practicing that in your daily lives. And you will be able to hit that next phase of your career. I want to thank all you guys for spending your time with us and giving us your attention. And we have loved the relationships we've built. It means the world to us that you guys are putting so much time into yourselves and to bettering yourself, because that's really what this is about. This is why Drea and I do this. And what a really awesome way to close this season down. We will be back with you in the springtime. We're going to bring on a whole new, element. I don't know. We'll see where this goes, but we will definitely be back in the springtime to hang out with you guys. Drea, do you have any final thoughts before we close out?
I mean, you said it so well. I'm just so grateful just for our community with Successful Stylist Academy, with you. Thank you to Sarah, who's on here every single episode as our audio technician. Just absolutely amazing. And these were some of our hard truths as a hairstylist, but I think we'd love to hear from you guys some of your hard truths. So be sure to pop on Successful Stylist Academy podcast on Instagram and maybe share some of the hard truths that you found throughout your career as well. I would love that.
And on that note, my one last major ask is if this has been valuable to you, any of these episodes, or this one in particular, any of them, if you could go on to our Apple reviews and just give us a little review, you can type in one sentence or an entire book. Either way, it means so much to us and it just helps the right people find us as well. So thank you once again, everyone, for hanging out with us. And keep dreaming big, setting those goals, and taking action. And we will see you in season 2.